What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Rust Builder Series video. I'm Gneissish, and today we are talking about the proper way to double honeycomb the classic 2x2. Now, disclaimer for those of you who might know this, there are reasons why you wouldn't properly build this in a double honeycomb if you're using the honeycomb for other reasons. But the goal of this video is to sort of reinforce the idea of honeycombing and how it works. And so the double honeycombing of the 2x2, which is done incorrectly pretty frequently, is a good example of how to learn this. So what we're going to do is we're going to rebuild this over to the right here with no honeycomb, single honeycomb, and then double honeycomb, so that you can see what aspects of this build that I've created here are incorrect. I mean, we have the standard interior, some sort of loot room, TC room, general areas here, the doorway, whatever. But we're going to rebuild this and do it correctly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to build the footprint of the standard 2x2 with no honeycomb. Pretty simple. And I'm going to make sure that I, of course, put my soft sides in. If you're new to this game and you need more information on that, check out my video. I'll link it for you on my 3 tips for new players. And here we're just gonna finish this off like this. There we go. Throw a couple of doors on it on the outside. Get our airlock put together. We'll build our core here. And this would be the sort of general way you might start this base, just like this. And so that right there represents no honeycomb 2x2 with the standard airlock. It is mathematically 0, as I said in the other video. 500 HP, any wall brings you to the inside. 500 through here, 500 through the roof, 250 and 250 is 500 through the doors. There you go. And this is the classic base. This is a very, very common way to get started. And so once you've gotten started, and let's say you want to add a layer of honeycomb, I covered this in the other video, but we'll put this together real quick. You add triangle foundations around the outside of the base, put your hard side out, and then honeycomb in the base. And all this is going to do is create another layer that a raider has to go through in order to get into your base. And so once you have your walls, as I pointed out in the first video, you got to make sure you also honeycomb the roof. Right now we've got 500 going in, so that's 1,000, but we still only have 500 on the roof. So one option is to just make the roof metal, which these are 1,000, and so now you have 500, and 1,000. So that equals out. But another option is that you can put a layer of honeycomb on the roof, making sure that your vertical wall pieces are soft side in. Put your floor or ceiling pieces, however you see it, on the top, and then there you go. Now we've got 500, 500, or 500, 500, and then 500 going in. And then with the doors, we don't quite have that, so it's not perfect when you do this. You have 1,000. Your HP is now 1,000 with your single layer of honeycomb. We've got 250, 500, but if you add doors in here with door frames, we'll add one here. We'll put the shelf here, a little loot room here or something. And if we put doors in here like so, and these are just sheet metal, 250 each. Now to the core, we are 1,000 because we're 250, 250, 250, and 250 to the core. And so depending on how you look at how the doors interact with your base and as far as honeycomb goes, this is a solid build. So at this point, this is a pretty common point that players reach, and then they start to double honeycomb. And so now is when if you're planning on double honeycombing, there's a couple of things you might consider on the inside. I'll cover that. But what most players do is they do this. They will add foundations here on these corners and on the front, like so. They will wall this in, of course, hard side out, capping off each one as you go. And this is and then they'll call it done. And so the problem here, and this is again one of the classic mistakes that we all make when we first start this game, is that whereas you now have a double layer of honeycomb, you only have a double layer of honeycomb from this point. You don't have it from these corner points. So this is 500, 500, 500. So yeah, now it's 1,500 to get through the double honeycomb into the base. But if a raider raids from either of these two walls or the roof currently, it's still 1,000 because it's 500, 1,000. And so this is the first and most common mistake when people are building the 2x2. If you're not going to continue on to make it a true double honeycomb, there is no point in adding these. Again, I am not including things where if you make little furnace rooms here, so your double honeycomb doesn't matter. But if your goal is to double honeycomb, this is not going to work. And so you technically have the option, if you wanted, to do this, where you add a triangle and a square foundation, and then you hard side them out like so, and you cap them off, and there you go. And so now, and you do that on all 4 sides. And so now, if from these corner pieces it would be 500, 500, 500, there's your 1,500 now, your triple honeycomb. But the problem with this is it's kind of unnecessary. It's a waste of material, and you don't really need to do this. So what you can do instead, and this is the way you fix this corner issue, is that you have to upgrade the corners to the next layer, the next level up of upgrade that is from the whatever the rest of the base is made of. So because this is stone, you would upgrade each of these corners to metal, excuse me. And so by upgrading these to metal, you've now equalized those corners to the rest of the honeycomb, almost. And so some players might do this, and that now you're close, because you have 500, 1,000, 1,500, and from this corner it's 1,000, 1,500, so now they match. That's great. But you have to make sure that you also upgrade these triangle floor pieces on top, because if a raider gets on top, they can bypass that metal wall and go 500, 1,000, and then they're inside. So you also have to be careful to make sure that you upgrade the caps of those corners, the triangle floor pieces of those corners, so that they are equal to that, and it should look something like that. And so now, at this point, we are very close. We do have our 500, 1,000, 1,500, our 1,000 or 1,000, 1,500 on all 4 sides. We'll talk about the doors here in a moment, but that's pretty close. But so now the last piece of this is that the roof is still only 1,000. We're at 500, 1,000, or 1,000, 1,000. I'm sorry, excuse me, 500 and 500 is 1,000. So for the roof, the easiest way to do this, you have 2 options. One is that you could skip these and make these stone, and then put a whole nother layer and make this another half step higher. That's really not necessary. If you're doing this metal stuff here, it's very easy to just make the interior of the roof all metal, and that will fix the problem for you right there. So now what we have is 1,000 and 500. So by doing the interior roof panels, it saves you from having to do, you could make this whole cap metal if you wanted, but it's cheaper to just make these 4 metal on the inside, so that no matter where they raid through the roof, 500, 1,000, there you have your 1,500, and now you're matched. So this here, unlike this other one over here that I had before, I had stone ceilings, I didn't have these metal, and I didn't have these caps metal either. So this is the correct way to repair the 2x2, or at least the 2x2 that I built over there, into a properly double honeycombed 1,500. Now, let's say that your whole base is metal, like all this was metal, this is all metal. You would just upgrade these to armor. So whatever it is your base is made out of, you just upgrade these corner pieces and their caps and these interior roof pieces to the next layer up. So of course, if the whole base is armor, which nobody would really do, you'd have to build those things because there is no upgrade past armor. But this is the most common way to do it. It gives you 1,500 HP. That's pretty good. And so now the last thing we're going to talk about here is just the doors. If you know you're going to be doing this, if your plan is to make a base like this, it's better for this interior door, at least I think, to put a frame in there and put a temporary door, until you get garage doors like this, so that you can make these 2 the airlock. We'll swap this one around. So now we have our proper airlock, and make the interior door a garage door as soon as you have a garage door. And that way, that gives you now, you've got, at least 250, 500, 1,100, which isn't quite the 1500 because, you know, but at least through here you have 1600. It's this, you know, 1600, and so your entrance is much more secure. There's no point for a raider to try and raid through this wall and through this. They'll probably come through here, which is the same, you know, this is a cheaper route with 2 metal doors than it is to come through here. So this will cost them, you know, 250, and now, so it's 500, additional 600 is 1100 to get just into this room. You know, if these are also swapped out, once you have these for garage doors, this becomes much more secure because they can get to this point here, but to get to these other points in the base, they're going to have to go through, I mean, you know, you could splash damage your way into it, but the point is that if, you know, and then if you eventually find an armored door and you replace, like, say, this inner one with an armored door, then you're really at 250. That's what, it's 1050. You know, plus 600 is another, what, 1650. So, you know, if you have 1 sheet metal, 1 armor in a garage, then you've slightly overdone, barely, but zeroed out the doors. Because, you know, the last tip I'm gonna sort of put here is that because raiders really do tend to door raid, even surprisingly, even when door raiding isn't the most efficient way to do it, in a base like this, if you build a 2x2 like this and you make sure that you have double honeycombed it correctly, you know, an experienced player is going to see this and know that there is no fast way into this. They're just going to have to expend the resources to raid this. And so if you have even just 2 sheet metal doors and a garage door here, they're going to door raid. Most players, again, just only door raid. You know, they really do just like to go through all the doors. So this gives you an opportunity, you know, put a sheet metal door so that they commit to door raiding in here. It gives you the opportunity to put traps in here, whatever. But since they come in from this corner, the far corner is your core where your TC would be. It's going to be as expensive as it ever will be to raid a 2x2. So that, folks, is about all I've got. If you have any questions or comments about this, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, you can get me on my Discord. See you later.